Hello folks, Scott here, and it's just past 12:30 on the morning of Thursday, August 31st. Luke has posted his latest marathon video. He does the marathon based on the guidelines that Ryan Chataway sets. He does it every year. This is his 6th year, and this year, his marathon video is a mere 4 hours long. Just think about it. Only 4 hours long? Well, hallelujah! As you can see, I have full screened the video. I'm prepared to start watching it right now. I have a couple of predictions. First of all, he released a teaser which strongly suggests that The Color of Money, directed by Martin Scorsese and starring Paul Newman, Tom Cruise, and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, is one of the selections. Whether it pertains to which of the criteria Ryan Chataway said, I don't know, but we'll find out. The second is that he posted a sort of teaser image, basically a still frame with the Roman numeral 6 superimposed over it on Facebook. The image was of an explosion in the water with 3 converging, or apparently converging, wakes. And I thought, that's Waterworld. It's gotta be the end of Waterworld. That's his flop. Or maybe it's W for his fiance's last name. That's one of Ryan Chataway's little guidelines. Is like, pick a movie that starts with the first letter of your first name and pick a movie that starts with the first letter of your last name. So it could be W. We'll see. 4 hours, man. Alright, let's get started, shall we? Okay, the Twin Peaks theme. Totally awesome. Luke, forget everything I said. 13.5 minutes in, and Luke has just finished having a conversation with himself. Kind of like that video from about 5 years ago in which the guy takes a videotape that he made from 1992 and then has a conversation with it in 2012, you know, a 20-year gap like that. Luke is talking to his younger self, who is just about to watch The Phantom Menace or something like that because it's 1999. Clever, yes. I really enjoyed that video of the guy talking to himself on the VHS. And though this isn't quite the same thing, clearly, you know, this is another kid, not actually Luke from, you know, 1999 or whatever, but it's still a great idea. Overall, I have to say that so far this intro has been a bit better paced and more concise than the previous years. Thank fuck! He's encountered basically himself from the previous year's marathon, and then the third marathon, and then the fourth marathon, and the second marathon, and then the first marathon, where he's reaching into the fridge for a drink, and finally he walks into a room where he's basically confronted by his like 10-year-old self or something like that. I'd imagine that Luke did this because, according to him, this is the last year that he's filming a video at this particular house that he lives in, and so taking advantage of that location before he loses it is a good idea. But yes, as usual, he's taking his time to get around to the part where he and Connie actually start watching movies. What did we fucking expect, huh? What did we expect? Anything else? Don't think so. Trying to be David Lynch now? Seriously? Another cameo from Ryan Chataway, same as last year, although in a different style. I take back what I said earlier about you having tighter editing here. This thing is just going to be way too long. And it's like Ryan said, you're Mr. Joe Blow now. You can edit tightly videos for like 4 minutes, right? Are 4-minute videos tightly edited? Is that what I meant? Yes? I've had a couple beers. moving on. I think I get it now. What's with all the David Lynch music and David Lynch references? Is it because this is called Return of the Marathon after the Marathon Strikes Back and A New Hope and all that stuff? Because David Lynch was going to, at one point, direct Return of the Jedi, right? That's fucking Warwick Davis, for crying out loud. And he said Luke Ryan's name, which means that this isn't footage borrowed from some of the shit that Warwick Davis did. This is what Luke wanted everyone to do reaction videos to, isn't it? Huh? That everybody do a reaction video because I want to know how you want to see the look on your face when you see some shit that happens in this video. And this is it right here. Are you kidding me? I gotta admit that was pretty badass. I mean, what's next? Pacino? Crying out loud. Warwick Davis. In Luke's video. Okay? Oh, 24 minutes in. Now we're getting to the actual thing. Record time, I'd say. Record time. We're getting to the actual marathon part. You know, lickety split. Vin Diesel, watch out, because Luke Ryan, he's on your ass. He's gonna be, you know, overtaking your speed records anytime soon, right? Yeah. So, 27 minutes in, Luke and Connie are going over the guidelines for this year. The new ones being a film that begins with the first letter of your first name, a film that begins with the first letter of your last name, a film with a number in the title. The rest of them are pretty much the same, except for there's basically the seventh option right here, which is to watch either a silent movie, an animated film, or musical, your choice. And then the bonus guideline is to watch a film trilogy, which I guess they're not doing this year. I don't know, we'll see. 33 minutes in, they've just started their first film of the marathon after going through all the snacks that they were going to be enjoying throughout the next couple of days. Studio Ghibli animated film for them. It is fulfills the animated film requirement, and it's called Only Yesterday. Let's see what they thought of it, ladies and gentlemen. You and me both, Connie. You and me both. Right now they're talking about Only Yesterday and how there's a whole bunch of scenes in this animated movie in which people are talking and having conversations that really don't serve any point in the story. And they just kind of go on without so much as a real reason for being there. What does that remind me of? So Luke and Connie have reached the 10-minute time limit to talk about their first movie. And Luke is going, do I have anything else to say about this? Do us all a favor, Luke. Don't. Okay? This video is going to be really long. By the way, I feel bad for CP. Because he's the guy on Will Like It Reviews. That's his YouTube channel. Because nobody's going to remember that he was in this video. Because Warwick Davis, freaking Warwick Davis, shows up right after him. Everyone's just going to go, what, CP was in this? I don't remember him. All I remember is Warwick Davis showing up all of a sudden. How the heck did he pull that off? I mean, honestly, you know. Next thing you know, he's going to be walking into a jail and talking through Anthony Hopkins through a glass wall. I mean, who knows what's going to happen next, right? It is the next day. Scott is here. And he's drunk off his ass. Just kidding. Actually, I just got off of work, and I figured since I only got through an hour of the marathon last night after work, before I needed to go to sleep, I would be stone cold sober and try and get through 2 hours tonight, and then the final hour after work on Friday. And the reason why I'm doing it at night, after work, instead of during the day, is because when light comes through these blinds, it really kind of muddies up the picture. I didn't want to do that. And it was either that or move the computer. So, here we go. At this point, they are watching, Connie and Luke, they're watching a classic Pixar short called Luxo Jr. So, let's continue. So Luxo Jr. Filled the criteria for Luke's first name thing, a movie starting with the letter of your first name. That went to Luke, and so now they're doing Connie's last name, which starts with W. And it's The Wizard of Oz, which she hasn't seen before. So that makes it also a classic that you've never seen. It fills that criteria. Connie not seen The Wizard of Oz yet, I'm very disappointed. So Luxo Jr., I'm not sure if I've seen it or not. Oh, they also included animation that Connie did, because she's actually studying animation. So she did an animated piece where there's a lamp, like character like Luxo Jr., a lamp, hopping through an obstacle course. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Wizard of Oz, hello, it's classic. It's like something that I've been watching since I was a little kid. I mean, not recently, you know, but yes, whenever it was on TV, we'd watch it, you know. I have large portions of it committed to memory, of course, because it is one of those favorites from way back in the day. And a fine film, and let's move on and see what Connie thinks of The Wizard of Oz. I think she'll hate it. It doesn't seem like her type of movie. We'll see. Okay, so I was wrong. She didn't hate it. But she doesn't have the same sort of emotional connection to the movie that anyone who has been watching this movie ever since they was a little kid, such as myself. I think that that's true of a lot of movies. I mean, the movies that I have the most affection for are the ones that I saw, like, in the 80s, you know, when I was a little kid, you know, and some stuff from the 90s, too. But if you don't have that bond, and don't have the memories of enjoying it, and being excited, and being scared, and loving the music from when you were a kid, you're going to look at this like Connie did and go, well, it's okay, you know, it's a little over the top, you know, some of the songs are good, overall it's fine. Whereas, you know, if you saw it when you were a little kid, you'd be right there with it, as I was. Okay, story time. So, they just got through talking about Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and how it's only 45 minutes long, and so it doesn't actually match the entire movie, only matches certain points, but it ends well before the movie's over. I'm like, yes, that doesn't work for an entire movie, but it does work if you are just looking at particular scenes, like, say, one scene for a song. I did this thing years ago where I would, like, play a CD, but have, like, the TV on, and maybe I was watching a film or something like that, and then suddenly the music would like sync up, and I'd try and replicate that later on by editing the music over the picture just the right time. I did this with a scene from True Lies, for example, and there was a Fiona Apple song off of one of her albums where the lyrics kind of go, I took off my glasses while you were yelling at me once, more than once, so as not to see you see me react. And it was at that point that the ending of True Lies came on. The scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger goes to the terrorists in the building, the skyscraper, and then, you know, starts shooting at them from the hover jet. So the lyric, I took off my glasses while you were yelling at me once, more than once, so as not to see you see me react. And at that point, one of the terrorists raises a pair of binoculars to his eyes, and Arnold pops up in the shot because he's in the jet outside the window, and the terrorist goes, and then boom, everybody gets shot down. I mean, it just worked out perfectly. I was dying laughing. It was so funny. So, little anecdote there for you. So, just had another YouTuber cameo, Ian and Luke insulting each other. Classic. And now they're going to watch The Discovery, which is a movie that hasn't even come out here in the theaters, and they've already got it. And The Discovery is about the scientific proof of the afterlife, and so now a whole bunch of people are committing suicide because they want to get to it sooner rather than later. I forget who the actors are in this movie. For some reason, I think maybe Willem Dafoe is in it, but I don't know. I know that there's an older dude and a young woman. I think it's Kate Mara, but I could be wrong. It could be Ellen Page, but it's probably Kate Mara. Anyway, just taking a guess there, just taking a guess. So it's like almost 11 p.m. their time, and they're starting on their 6th movie. I was close. It's actually Rooney Mara who's in the movie, not Kate Mara. And it's not Willem Dafoe, it's Robert Redford. And Jason Segel's in it too. Anyway, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it. But now they're going to start their next movie. Dances with Wolves with Tap Shoes. Yeah, okay. So they just got finished watching Footloose, which is an 80s comedy with Kevin Bacon as a kid who moves to a small town where dancing is outlawed, and he wants to be able to dance, and he wants the whole town to dance, and presumably at the end people are dancing, because it's going to have a happy ending. It's not going to be like, you know, oh, everyone dies. No. I don't know. I haven't seen this movie. I haven't seen the new one. I've never seen the classic Kevin Bacon Footloose movie, so... But I do remember the commercial where he was basically some old guy living in a house demonstrating Apple TV or something like that, and talking about all the different Kevin Bacon movies you can get. And he says at the end, my wife says that if I watch enough Kevin Bacon movies, I might actually become Kevin Bacon. So, by the way, those were fingers crossed, not middle fingers, not exclusively middle fingers anyway. So yeah, they're having a laugh over their thing that they were just talking about, and so I'll continue. Can you see how utterly exhausted they look? They've only been through one film so far on the second day, and already they're just like, they just got finished watching City Lights, silent film, Charlie Chaplin, and you know, this is the transition over to the next day. They'd actually talked a little bit about the Kevin Bacon game, and they were a little unclear in the rules, and it's basically you take any actor and you connect that person to Kevin Bacon in 6 moves or less. That's why it's called 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. So it's like, you know, actor, film, Kevin Bacon, like that. Connie apparently feels that the trailer for Shortcuts is a, quote, piece of shit. I don't remember the trailer for that movie, but I know that you could never sum up what happens in that film in a trailer, especially, you know, I mean, since it's 3 hours and has such a huge cast of characters. They're trying to settle on a 3-hour movie. Oh, and James and Zig just had their big cameo, and it was, of course, very, very amusing. Okay, so at this point in the marathon, as you can see, Connie is, you know, furiously trying to extract the egg that's been implanted by the facehugger down her throat, while Luke is having a grand old time laughing it up because it was like the perfect practical joke to play on her. Actually, they're just like deliriously tired, and so they can't stop laughing. He's trying to remind her about a double feature that they were going to do, and he keeps whispering it to her so that we can't hear it on camera, but she's laughing so much she doesn't understand what he's talking about. They're putting the 3-hour movie off until tomorrow, and so maybe that's a wise move. So it's just past 2 minutes 11. Sorry, 2 hours 11 minutes, and I just got to see my little scene, which was nice, and it was well edited too. Except I'm a little disappointed that Luke decided to cut out this, which I've done in the last 2 marathons that I appeared in. Anyway, yeah, really cool to be in it once again. And now they're going to do a couple of pool movies. Connie was a little confused at the time because she thought that Luke was talking about pools that you swim in, but actually it's more like, you know, with the 8-ball and the cue ball and things like that, that kind of pool. Good, moving on. So their double bill is The Color of Money, which of course was obvious by the teaser that Luke put out, but prior to that they're watching The Hustler, which is incredibly appropriate because Paul Newman plays the same character in both movies. Color of Money is a sequel to The Hustler. So, oh, and they just did a skit where Luke was chewing too loudly. Little tidbit there. And now, for some reason, we're going to find out what Connie means when she says when Paul Newman smiles, he looks like an actor. I'm curious about that comment. So, they just finished The Color of Money. They're talking about it now, and I'm sure at this point, Luke, you've already looked up the fact that Paul Newman did in fact win Best Actor in a leading role for The Color of Money and not supporting actor, because he is in fact the main character of the movie. They're talking about how Vincent starts out as the main character of the movie, but then fast Eddie Felson, Paul Newman's character, sort of takes center stage and becomes the main character. I don't feel that way at all. The movie starts with him. The movie starts with him talking about the lady that he's seeing, about the whiskeys that he's selling, you know, and it starts with him noticing Vince for the first time. Vince is not a terribly smart guy. He's a little rash and impulsive. There's a great scene later on where he talks about having character, and he says, and Vince, the Tom Cruise character, says, "Oh yeah, that's always saying. I'm always saying that I'm a character." He's like, "No, you are a character. You are an incredible flake." but that you can use that. You can use that when you're hustling people. He's really the smart guy, and the real sort of meaty part of the movie for me is not the relationship that was with Vince, but the relationship that he has with Vince's girlfriend, who's sort of coaching him and managing him and everything like that. He's teaching her more than he's teaching him, because he knows that of the two of them, she's the smart one, and she's the one who's going to be able to keep him on track and help him make a whole bunch of money together as a team when the three of them, part ways and the two just go off on their own. I've always felt that Paul Newman was the main character throughout the entire thing. Interestingly, it kind of reminds me of The Sixth Sense, because you have basically two main characters in that. You have the Bruce Willis character and you have the Haley Joel Osment character. But if you look at the movie as a whole, the Bruce Willis character really is the main character, despite how prominent the kid is, and despite the number of scenes that you have with the kid and his mom, or with the other kids at school without Bruce Willis. The movie starts with Bruce Willis and ends with him, which indicates to me that he's very much the main character. It's my opinion. I wanted to see how it ends too, Connie. I really did. When I first saw this movie, I was furious. I was a teenager when I first saw this movie. It was actually the first Scorsese movie that I ever saw. And it was just like, wait a minute, the big match at the end and we don't get to see? They're going to end the movie right when it starts? Now, of course, I understand the value of cutting a movie at a certain point to really emphasize what the point of the film was, rather than just who wins the game. I was right. Waterworld. They're watching Waterworld. It's their designated flop, and I guessed that just by looking at one picture that Luke posted that had no people in it, just an explosion on the water. I'm like, that's Waterworld. Yeah. So it's about 2:52, which means I've watched 8 minutes shy of 2 hours tonight. I think that's enough. I'll save the last, say, hour and 15 for tomorrow night. They just got done with Waterworld, and they thought it was not too bad, actually. And I think it's not too bad either. I enjoy that film, although I haven't seen it in a long time. I think probably the only time I've seen it from beginning to end was when it was in the theater, which was 22 years ago. So, good night for now, and just like them, I will speculate on what happens when there's a cut. But we already know what happens when there's a cut, so never mind. And we fade into the third day of this marathon. Not literally the third day. Well, I think it's 30 days for them, and it's 3 nights for me, so it kind of evens out. I'm not sure where we left off exactly, but according to the time counter here, we've got an hour and 15 minutes left to go. I mean, I've got an hour and 15 minutes left to go. You have got far less, thanks to the magic of editing, as Ryan and Luke will no doubt repeat over and over and over again in the future. I've seen Luke, of course, and Connie. I've seen Ian, I've seen James, I've seen CP, I've seen myself, I've seen Warwick frickin' Davis, and now here's Zaran Isaac, and he has just finished his appearance, and to me this actually tops his appearance in the fourth one, where he scolds Luke about buffering Battlefield Earth while he's watching Blade Runner on Blu-ray. Yes, I remember that in detail. Anyway, here he's talking about how DNR is horrible, and Luke's sort of like egging him on by saying, "Oh, DNR is great." I don't even know what DNR stands for. I just know that it's fucking bad. So, moving on. With whatever movie they're going to watch next. We'll see. Oh, I think the next thing they're going to do is a 3-hour movie, and I think they were talking about doing shortcuts. Let's find out. So, the 3-hour pick got pushed back a little bit in favor of the must-see pick, and these are the ones that Connie and Luke are telling each other, you must see this, there's not going to be any debate, we are definitely watching this movie. So he tricks her a couple times into pulling out movies that she doesn't want to see, but then he says, no, we're going to watch Chaplin, which is an early 90s movie and is a biographical film about Charlie Chaplin, of course. These two, they've been watching lots of Chaplin, they love the silent films, they love Buster Keaton and what have you. And Robert Downey Jr. played Charlie Chaplin. One kind of surprising comment is that apparently these two right here have not seen very many Robert Downey Jr. movies that were made prior to Iron Man in 2008, which was only 10 years ago. Okay, first, Natural Born Killers. Second, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Those are like essential Downey movies. And there's plenty others to see. I mean, he's really good in many of the movies that he's been in. But, you know, of course, there are certain characters and certain roles that he's well suited to. Now, I've seen Chaplin, but I saw it one time back in the 90s when it first came out on video. And I remember very little about it, very little. I remember them recreating some of the acts. I remember this great bit in live theater where he basically plays a drunk theater patron who's stumbling around and falling over things, but then they tell the audience that it's all an act in the end and everyone applauds and they're really entertained by it. I don't remember a lot of the actors in the movie. They mentioned Kevin Kline as Douglas Fairbanks. I don't remember him at all. I don't remember any of his scenes. I remember very little about this movie, other than Moira Kelly's topless scene, of course. I was very pleased to see, you know, one of my favorite young beauties, Moira Kelly, in this movie, take her clothes off. But aside from that, don't remember very much at all about it. So that's one I'll have to revisit someday. But you know, at the time I didn't really think that much of the film overall. And I think probably having seen more Charlie Chaplin movies, the actual Charlie Chaplin movies, really helps in connecting with what's happening on screen and the events of his life and everything like that in his career. So now they're about to watch the 3-hour movie, and I paused it just before Luke says what it is. I think it's shortcuts, but find out in a second what he picked for that. Wrong. It's The Deer Hunter, another movie that I've seen only one time. You see this? This is this. This isn't something else. What does that mean, this is this? Yeah, I'll always remember that moment from The Deer Hunter. Reminds me of the it is what it is thing that I started hearing in the 90s. I don't even know why people say that. So we just had them review Deer Hunter and praising Robert De Niro up and down, of course. I don't remember a great deal from that movie, but I remember more of that than I do of Chaplin. I think I saw them both around the same time, actually. Then we had a couple more cameos. A guy named Lee, who I don't know. Then Zaire Nizarak pops up again, and then CP pops up again, only this time he's actually having a conversation with Luke that is basically a variation on the one that Rocky gives somebody, his son, in Rocky Balboa. Right, yeah, it's an often quoted speech these days. So anyway, they're about to start their last movie. And I'm hoping it's Glengarry Glen Ross, because I've been encouraging them to watch that film, but I won't put money on it. And just like that, they watched the last movie, which wasn't Glengarry Glen Ross. It was actually Return of the Jedi, but it was the despecialized edition. They call it the Grindhouse edition because it had, you know, basically it's a straight transfer of an old film print, which is not the same as the despecialized edition. It's like a Blu-ray quality version of the original unaltered trilogy, and that would be amazing to see as well. And it would be great to see this as well. It's been ages since I've seen the original Star Wars movies. They had the original versions on Laserdisc in the 90s. Really wish I'd held on to those. You know, I had no idea, you know, just how much the movies would get changed and how those versions of them would disappear so easily. But yeah, they're still out there somewhere. So if you hunt around long enough, you can probably get them. Luke was showing a couple of clips from the film, and one of them is actually from the very end. And something that I never noticed about is that the last shot of the movie is the whole group of main characters sort of standing, and some of them are sitting like in a pose, like they're getting their portrait taken. But what I didn't notice is that in the shot prior to that, when Leia encourages Luke to come and join the group, we see Han sitting down next to Chewie in that position, and it's just basically like a reverse angle of that same scene. I've never noticed that before. Very odd, but it has been a while since I've seen the film itself. So yeah, looks like there's still 25 minutes left on this marathon, so I know we're supposed to get one more big cameo in this somewhere. It was mentioned somewhere or another that there would be 2 surprise guest appearances in addition to the usual raft of YouTubers that show up in these things. And I don't think he was referring to Lee. Lee is a guy who is another internet guy. I assume he's talking about an actor, someone who is more widely known than those of us in the movie collecting or just plain movie fan community on YouTube. So we'll see about that. Anyway, they're going to talk for a little bit about Return of the Jedi and how awesome that is. And then we'll see what they've got in store for the rest of the time on this epic video. So they just finished talking about Return of the Jedi, and also they watched a bit of Celebration from earlier this year with the big Carrie Fisher tribute and John Williams playing the theme live. Looks like they're just about to wrap it up, and there's a little less than 10 minutes in this thing. So even though they say we're done, there's a little bit more left to go. So, they also asked each other, what's your favorite moment from Return of the Jedi? And for me, it's definitely when Vader is looking back and forth between Luke and the Emperor as the Emperor is electrocuting Luke. And finally he just goes, no, that's it. Grabs him, picks him up. Of course, the special edition is spoiled by having him say no. It's just like, hey man, I was 10 when I saw this movie. I got it. I didn't need to hear him say no. Because when he picks him up, we know what's happening. He doesn't like what's happening to his kid. But that's it. I just finished it. There was some talk about how kind of sad it is that it's the last marathon they're doing at that particular house. The next marathon they do, they'll be in a new location. And then there's a big long title sequence in which you have all the faces of everyone who participated, and then a whole bunch of shots taken from all the previous marathons. And once that was over, you hit Van Damme again for some reason. I don't know what the deal is with the Van Damme thing, but it's that's double feature Blu-ray that he always finds or comes across in every single one. Anyway, as soon as it was over, I went back to 22 minutes so I could watch Warwick Davis again. So anyway, there's my reaction video. Not in real time, but my reaction video to the marathon. And Luke was very insistent that people do this, so hopefully it's to his satisfaction. Luke, always enjoy the marathon. You and Connie make a great team. Love hearing you talk about all the films that you see. And maybe one of these days I'll get around to doing another marathon of my own at some point. Man, I'm tired.